Hi guys. For those of you who don't know me, and I'm sure the majority of people who might be seeing that don't know me, my name is Alicia. I am originally from Poland, but I lived in New York for 17 years. And at the end of 2021, I decided to leave New York and I started traveling full time. I've been sharing about my travels on Instagram and on Facebook, but that was mostly intended for my friends, for my Polish-speaking friends. So most of my posts were recorded in Polish. But something has changed and made me want to record a little recap of what I've been doing in English as well. So for the past 6 months, I've been sleeping in my car. This is not the first time that I've tried that, but this is absolutely the longest time that I've done it. And I've done it this time in Texas in a very hot weather, which was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is over 40 in Celsius. So these facts, the fact that I've done it for so long and in such temperature, kind of make me feel that I've got some experience that I can share with whoever loves to travel and whoever would like to save, money on traveling or feel more independent and do more of those things. So I've decided that I'm going to record this video in English. Another reason for that is also that I've a little slowed down with my travels recently. I've stayed in San Antonio and the last couple of months I was in Austin. And I've been meeting people, and that question of, so where do you live, where do you stay, started coming up pretty frequently. And I've noticed that the fact that it's pretty normal for me while living on the go, which is sleeping in the car, was pretty shocking to many people. And I wanted to share my perspective on that. Again, mostly for people who like to travel, but also for those who might just, want to see how it is, from somebody else's perspective. So, as I mentioned, I left New York in 2021, the end of 2021. I initially started traveling by public transportation. I was not working at the time for a little bit, so I wanted to save money. I've traveled like this for a few weeks. It was amazing. Traveled by a bus, by train, by plane, place to place, right? But I walked to hotel from train station. Absolutely manageable in some of the states. So I enjoyed it a lot. And then last year I did a 7-month trip when I traveled in a car which was rented. Back then, at that time, I was not sleeping in the car, right? So I was traveling in California and went to Utah, and I was staying in hotels, motels, whatever arrangements I could find, which was pretty pricey. And then kind of naturally, without me planning anything, this topic of sleeping in the car kind of came up, right? And it started happening naturally. I was in Monument Valley last year, and I was in this little town, a very cute town. All of the hotels were very expensive, and I knew that I'm only staying there for short night, and I need to leave early in the morning. So I remember that somebody mentioned that near Monument Valley there are public areas in which you can sleep, in your car, right? So I've tried that for the first time then. Then I had another night in California, same happened. I arrived somewhere very late, so I decided to sleep in my car. Then I had 2 nights in LA when I decided to sleep in my car, even though there was a lot of hostels that were cheap, but I wanted to be closer to the beach. So I did that. It was not the best idea though. It was not the safest place, so I've learned my lesson near Venice Beach as well. But I was kind of accumulating, the experiences. And the main, a turning point for me happened last year in Big Bend in Texas, which is west part of Texas, when I rented this super nice, cozy, cute camper van in the desert near Big Bend. And I was in love with the place. I was in love with that arrangement. I found it on Airbnb. So I arrived during the day. It was amazing, and it was amazing until the nighttime. When the nighttime came, it became so black, pitch black, that it got me terrified, like completely terrified, which I didn't expect. I could see nothing, just the stars. Milky Way was, showing beautifully, but other than that, it was so dark. And all of the senses basically kick in, right? These instincts, I could hear every voice, every sound, from distance, people speaking in the distance, right? Animals. So that was, I got so scared that the first night I actually went into this camper van. I barely slept. And then the other night, I was kind of like mentally preparing, knowing how the morning looks like in the desert. It was amazing. It was like a glorious morning with the sunrise and, the vast area of the desert, which I loved. But then when another evening came, right, and it became black again, I had the same exact feeling. I was afraid to walk into this camper van, and I instinctively felt more secure going into my car and trying to sleep in my car. Like I felt like if anything happens, I can, drive away right away, right? Versus being in this camper van. So I stayed there for 2 nights, one of which I slept in the car parked in front of the camper van, for which I paid, right? So the next time I went to deserted areas in Guadalupe Mountains, I was checking Airbnb rentals, and same idea came to mind. I'm like, what am I doing this time? I'm finding similar camper vans. What happens if I feel the same way at night, right? When I don't feel safe sleeping there. And I decided, okay, let me try again, sleeping in the car. At that time, I was following on YouTube this American girl. Some of you actually might know her. She's pretty popular on YouTube. Nikki Dallenval. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, but she slept in her car for 3 years, and she slept in a passenger car. That was not because she needed to, that was her choice, and same goes for me. I never needed to sleep in my car, thank God. It was always my choice. So I was following her just kind of, to get information. And when I was considering should I do it or not, she came to mind. I'm like, if she could do it for so long, I can definitely do it as well, right? For a couple of nights. So I tried it again. I slept in Guadalupe Mountains for 2 nights. And then I went back to Big Bend again. And again, I'm like, what am I doing this time? I'm like, okay, let me try sleeping in my car for 5 nights this time in the desert, right? So I did. Every time I kind of like was anxious. I couldn't really settle at night. My instincts were, kind of speaking loudly. I was sleeping lightly, waking up all the time, trying to assess if I'm, in a safe place. And the last night, which was the 5th night on that trip, I went actually to this little town, Terlingua, because there was more people. And I'm like, maybe when I'm around people, I will feel a little better. And somebody informed me that there is a public parking lot where I can park overnight, and people do it, right? So camper vans, passenger cars, all of the SUVs, wherever people decide to sleep in, they park there and they can legally do it. So I did that the 5th night, and that was also interesting for me because that made me realize that my relaxation, at night, the ability to rest, does not depend on the space in the car, but it depends on how I feel about my surroundings, right? So at that parking lot, which was right across the street from a gas station, low gas station, with some lights, and knowing that there are people around, made me so comfortable that I absolutely didn't mind sleeping in the car. And from that time on, I knew this is an option for me when I am going to travel more, right? So what happened at the end of last year, I went back to Terlingua and Big Bend, which I love. This is an amazing place. And I wanted to stay there for 7 nights, again, giving sleeping in the car, a shot. And I ended up sleeping there in the car for 19 nights in a row. It was such a mind-blowing and eye-opening experience to me, that it actually became, like the most exciting thing in my travels. Because, when you travel, people go to same places, right? We spend the day somewhere. It's the same like you live in the city, right? You go to work, you do something. But what's really important is the place where you go back to, right? Where you feel comfortable, when you lay down to sleep, and where you wake up. So for me, knowing that I'm functioning off of the car, it was such a adventure that I actually started feeling like sharing more about that. And that's what I did. I've recorded some videos in Polish. I couldn't wait actually to share it with my people, with my friends. And I didn't care if somebody might say, oh my gosh, what is she doing? She's living like a homeless person or something. I was so excited about this idea, because this really gives you much freedom. I didn't even realize how much freedom, how much independence this idea gives. And that's why I want to share more about that. So, a couple of things. First of all, if you want to try something like that, you have to change the way you think about your car. Very important. You cannot look at your car as the means of transportation. You have to look at your car as your place where you relax. And I had this situation when one day when I was in Terlingua, that was the middle of the day, very hot, and I kind of felt tired, felt like taking a nap, and I'm like, what should I do? Should I just take a nap in my car? It felt so weird, right? But I was tired. There was an event that I wanted to go to in the evening. And this is when I actually, turned the switch in my head. I'm like, this is the place that I need to consider as my, my living room also, my bedroom, my kitchen sometimes, right? This is where I arrange my lifestyle from. So I did that. I parked, in a kind of like a remote place, put the covers on my windows, put the AC on, and I took a nap. And then I got up, went to the restroom, got ready, and went for the party, right? So that was the first time I realized that I really need to think about my car as a place to relax. Also, had a couple of nights, actually a few nights by now, but at the beginning when I felt tired, and I parked earlier, not for the night, but also like early evening, when I already felt like relaxing, right? And not doing anything. So I did the same thing. I'm like, I need to feel here comfortable. I put the seats down in my car, which is Toyota RAV4. And I just started relaxing, right? Checking something on my phone, reading a book, whatever I would be normally doing at home, right? So that is very important if you want to give it a shot, not to feel constrained, by the small and compact place, but kind of like, get familiar with that and be okay with that, right? As a side note, I've always liked small places, so I've never been bothered by compactness of a place. I always liked small rooms, so that aspect doesn't bother me. But definitely you have to consider that place as your home base, right? Same goes for traveling long distances. If you travel somewhere, sleeping in the car gives so much freedom and flexibility. Not only you don't have to make reservations for the hotels. I've done, sleeping in the hotels and motels last year, and it consumed so much time, right? Finding the right hotel, comparing the prices. Sometimes the place would be booked. By the time I clicked, make a reservation, it was already gone, right? You have to go back and do the research. And also that doesn't allow you to change plans, right? So, for example, when I had like a long distance traveling, right now I don't feel that my plans need to be set in stone. I can adjust them as I go, right? I become tired, I look for a rest area, and, I can park and sleep. Where I feel like going, further, I can continue driving, and, I don't have to park and, stop at the place where I made the reservation at the hotel. So that gives a lot of, flexibility. Another very important aspect that I want to talk about is hygiene, right? I've done sleeping in my car for the past 6 months straight, right? 3 of those months were in the cities, and San Antonio and Austin, which feels a little different. When you travel and you're in a remote places, sleeping in the car feels more natural. When you're in the cities and you basically deal with the people who live in their homes, but you sleep in the car, the feel is a little different. I mean, I am by now super okay with that and, not bothered by it. As a matter of fact, I've also seen a lot of people doing that. Because there are particular places where people know where to park. But at the beginning, I kind of felt weird, right, doing that in the cities. So you also want to feel clean, fresh, appropriately dressed for the surroundings, right? And hygiene is something that people ask me. So where do you shower? Where do you use restroom? Like, how do you go about it? And I need to tell you, it is super easy to arrange all of those things. So starting with the bathrooms, couldn't be easier. Gas stations, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, whatever place you can basically think of, you have a bathroom, right, that you can use. So that's never an issue. And the people who travel in their cars or camper vans, they all say the same thing, like bathrooms is never an issue, right? In terms of the showers, there are some tricks that people use and go about that. One of them is having the membership at Planet Fitness, which I do, which allows you a free access to all of the Planet Fitness gyms all over the country, and I believe they also have gyms abroad. So many of them are open 24/7. You can go at any time, you can work out and then, take a shower. So that's never been a problem. And one thing that I also need to mention, there's also a lot of bathrooms at the campsites. For example, in Terlingua, the place where I stayed in Big Bend, right? There are designated showers where you pay with coins, and they're all over the place, right? Not just Terlingua, but I'm kind of like bringing this example. You can easily find a shower which you can use. Not to mention that you can also come up with your own tricks, right? For example, and I'm revealing the little secrets, right? When I was traveling from place to place and there was no Planet Fitness because these were kind of like remote areas, I needed to wash my hair. I just went to the bathroom in one of the gas stations, and I was just super quick, and I washed my hair in that bathroom. I know how weird that might sound, but basically that feeds the creativity. When you travel in this way, right? You come up with the ideas to make it work, basically, while doing this respectfully, right? Not blocking the bathroom for other people not being able to use it. So you kind of like need to be mindful, but those are pretty easy things, to arrange. There are also rest areas near the highways, all over the country, so you can use them with the bathrooms, so pretty easy. And the one thing that I need to say, I've been doing that for the past 6 months. I have not felt more healthy, well taken care of than in the last 6 months. I work out regularly, I swim a lot recently, I always have my nails done. I always do the facial regularly. I do the, foot peeling, right? I use, the lotion, my hair, whatever I would normally do at home. Like hair removing. It's just so natural that I absolutely don't feel like I'm sacrificing any of those aspects while living in my car, right? Living off of my car. So I just wanted to mention that because oftentimes people kind of think like you're, not clean or not fresh. I use my perfume as I would do at home. I wear my jewelry, right? I do a makeup in my car, and it's just so natural that, I function absolutely the same. Is as if I was, living off of my home. So that's something that I wanted to mention. Some other aspects that, people might be thinking about. You treat your car as, this is your bedroom where you go to sleep, right? All you really need is a mattress and a sleeping bag. The two things, if you have a right-sized car, as I mentioned, I'm renting Toyota RAV4, which is just perfect, length for that. You only need a mattress and the sleeping bag, and you're good to go. I fold the seats down, which is super quick and easy. Within less than a minute, I'm ready to go to sleep. Also, the car is your living room, as I said. I work remotely, so oftentimes I've worked from my car, especially when I was in kind of like remote places. I could either go to a cafe if the music is not too loud, so I can work peacefully. But I also worked from my car, and I need to say I'm very efficient when I do that. Like the surrounding, being kind of like closed in this car, and being able to stretch my legs and have my computer in front of me and a quiet space, it's really like always helpful to be effective when I'm working. Car also has become my kitchen, and that's something that I also wanted to mention. Many people have coolers, right? They have coolers for some dairy products or whatever they have. I have been functioning in Texas in this heat, which I mentioned, over 100 Fahrenheit, over 40 Celsius in recent weeks and months. I do not have a cooler, and I do have dairy products, right? I buy this like a dairy drink, I have some yogurts. Never had been an issue with that, which is surprising to me as well. I always have some fruits, I always have some nuts, I always have water with me, like 3 bottles, gallon, bottles of water. Have honey, cinnamon, all of the healthy foods that I would normally eat. I have them in my car because it's very important for me not only to keep the healthy routines while I'm on the go. I no longer tell myself, hey, when you're back home, you'll take care of that. No, living on the go kind of became my home recently. So, I need to kind of be consistent with, being able to live in a healthy way. I also have some chips or some salsa or something like that if I am in a remote place, right? So I don't have to worry about looking for the store, that I have something like some kind of a backup, right? Avocados, those kind of things that can keep you fulfilled. And also, a car can serve as your bathroom in a way, right? Like, doing makeup, refreshing yourself, whatever that is. So I wanted to mention these things because it's very easy to organize it if you really want it. And there's a lot of, benefits to actually arranging this thing. So since I mentioned, how to go about those general ideas, I also wanted to mention where you park, right? So generally, when you're like traveling to different places, you use your sense in assessing if the place is safe. As I mentioned before, safety, the surrounding is the most important thing. Thank God I've never had an issue. I maybe reparked like twice when I felt that there was something shady going on around me. So in the cities, you usually would go to Walmart parkings, right? This is kind of like a rule. People know that while traveling, Walmart parkings are the places that people can overnight park. In other places, I've stayed in the coolest places, really. For example, in Albuquerque, I've parked overnight in this historic old marketplace right in front of the historic church. It was just the most beautiful place in Albuquerque, and I was overnight parking right in the middle of it. In Santa Fe, where hotels are very expensive, right? I park in front of Loreto Chapel, which is an amazing place. I have a huge sentiment towards this place. Right in the middle of this historic old, place in Santa Fe, where again, hotels are very expensive. I was able to park right there and have the same views as people who are paying, for those hotels. Obviously, you park at the rest areas, and you park wherever you feel safe. Sometimes people park in residential areas, right? Like nobody would know that somebody's sleeping in the car, but they can do that, right? So there's a lot of options and a lot of flexibility with that. And a couple of words about the heat in Texas, because that's a new addition. When this heat wave started, which was, I believe, in June, a couple of people told me, hey, Alicia, maybe that's the time when you should stop and you should look for Airbnb, right? And I had that option in mind, right? When it becomes too hot, I'm just not going to be boiling in my car because it makes no sense. And there were a couple of very hot nights, uncomfortably hot nights, when I thought to myself, yes, I'm just going to stop it. But something kind of kept telling me, no, keep going, see how far you can actually go with that. And I'm so happy that I did. Couple of tricks. First of all, you keep your car running with the AC on, right? A little longer. My car is not a hybrid, so some people might have a problem with what I just said. I just do whatever seems, necessary at the moment. But I also got myself this portable little like a AC unit. It's not really AC. It's like a with the water, so you can pour the ice cold water, and it just gives this mist, that is cooling off. I only used it once or twice in the heat, here in Texas. Couple of weeks I spent at the camping ground in the shade, and that makes a huge difference, right? When you park underneath the trees and not on the concrete, huge difference. Also near the water where you can sleep, where you can swim, so you can cool off when needed, right? And you can come back, versus being in the city all the time. Though I've also stayed in the cities and I've managed that pretty well. So right now in this super high heat, I've managed without a problem, sleeping in the cities as well. The highest temperature that was recorded on my car was 117 Fahrenheit, which is 47 degrees Celsius. And that night was hard, I need to say, but not something that I couldn't manage, right? So I wanted to mention that if you can do it in such weather, you can definitely do it, in different weather. In terms of the cold weather, the coldest that I've done was just below zero. So that was around like 32 Fahrenheit and 0 Celsius. These nights were actually pretty comfortable, I need to say. They got a little chilly, but if you have a good sleeping bag, you can absolutely manage, such weather. So that's absolutely doable. And let me tell you just which pros and cons I generally speaking see in this arrangement and why I'm so excited about it. The reason why I'm basically recording this is that my traveling slowed down a little bit. I don't know how long I will be doing what I'm doing. My mindset is kind of like going different directions right now, but I didn't want to lose the opportunity to share about that, just so people might not be that shocked by the idea, but also can benefit from, those pieces of information. So, as I mentioned, the flexibility and freedom, which I love in traveling particularly, right? Like you can make plans every day. You don't have to plan 2 days, 3 days, a week or 2 weeks in advance. You can just go. And I've done it, all of my travels, which I've done. And if you are interested, if you want to visit my Instagram, I have a lot of pictures from all of my trips. All of it happened without planning. Like to the point, sometimes I would at 5 p.m. On Friday think, okay, what am I doing during the weekend? Okay, let me hit the road and let me drive for 7 hours to another place, right? And I did. And sleeping at the car lets you do whatever you want. You can stop wherever. You're tired, you're driving in the middle of the night, which I've done. 1 a.m. in the morning, I'm like, okay, I'm an hour away, but I'm too tired. Let me park, pull over and sleep somewhere, in the rest area. Without stressing, without, pre-planning, a lot of freedom. How much money did I save? That's a very important thing. And why I started basically sharing about my trips is that I've been asked many times by people, oh, how much money do you have? Oh, you have to have a lot of money in order to travel like you are, right? Obviously you need money for traveling, but I am really focused on traveling in an economic way. And sleeping in the car is one of those things, right? So if we think about finding a hotel for $50 a night, which is absolutely the cheapest and might not be even feasible anymore, but that was the cheapest that I found, right? $47.50, absolutely the cheapest. In the last 6 months, I've saved $9,000 by sleeping in the car. Do I miss anything? Did I miss a bed? Did I miss a shower? No, I did not. One night I actually felt, one afternoon I felt sick and I decided, okay, I need to go to the hotel. I went to the hotel. In the meantime, I actually started feeling good. There was some issue with my reservation, right? But I found out about it after I walked into the room. I sat on the bed and my feeling was not like, oh my gosh, tonight I'm going to sleep in the hotel. No, I was like, okay, bathroom is the same like they have it in Planet Fitness, you know. But okay, should I watch TV? No, I don't even feel like watching TV. You know, I didn't feel a difference, honestly. And then it turned out that there was some issue with my reservation, and I was to pay double for whatever I paid. And I'm like, you know what? No, I don't feel like staying here anymore. And I left. And it was such an eye-opening thing for me to see that I'm really not missing out on anything, right? While sleeping in the hotels, where especially, you know, when you only stay for a few hours, right? 7 hours, and you still are losing money along the way. So I've saved, considering the lowest price of a motel or Airbnb, you know, such arrangement, I've saved $9,000 in the last 6 months. And obviously, you know, that independence that I keep emphasizing is what kept me going. Also, what you're saving is the time in between you travel between the hotel and the place you want to see, right? Like I mentioned, I've parked in the middle of the, you know, location. I've parked in the historic places. I've parked right next to the park entrances, you know, where you can just, you don't waste time and you don't waste money on gas. 20 minutes this way, 20 minutes that way. You know, when you all, you know, add it up, it's going to increase the cost. So you're saving here as well. And yes, if you are actually thinking about what are the cons of it, I really don't see many, I'll be honest with you. I am not tired of it. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Safety, I guess, it's the only thing. You could think about the comfort, but really, I've gotten so used to it that it really becomes so natural if you're, you know, okay with that arrangement. So I don't see really cons to that thing. And yes, I guess these are the main things that I wanted to share with you and encourage basically those of you who might be watching that, who are thinking about it but are not fully convinced. Most importantly, I would like to tell you that you don't have to feel embarrassed by it. I've never felt embarrassed. If I felt embarrassed by it, I would not be talking about it. I would not be sharing, you know, with my friends what I'm doing. I actually it was not even neutral for me. I actually felt proud and feel proud, you know, of the accomplishment of sleeping in the car for 6 months and doing this in Texas in such heat. Because it's something, it's going out of your comfort zone. And I need to tell you, the mornings and the evenings as well, but oftentimes the morning, they just feel glorious to me, you know, in the car, like you're not wasting time on, you know, getting ready, packing, unpacking, moving your things. You're just so free and independent that you use more time on enjoying yourself and on traveling and not on, you know, the logistics around it. So it's all worth it, in my opinion. And the economical aspect, as I mentioned. So I wanted to share with you about that. If you would like to find out more where I've been recently, I've traveled in Texas and some other states. Please be my guest on my Instagram, which is Out of Town with 3 T letters and _of_town. I'll put it in the description. And yeah, I hope that this video can encourage somebody to start doing just that and exploring the surroundings or the world, you know, easily and in a fun way, okay? Thank you. Talk to you soon, and I hope that you feel inspired and encouraged by that. Bye.